In this video, we'll take a look at the predefined dashboards that come with Beyond software. We're going to do so by taking a look at the team leader and signing in as a team leader and looking at their dashboard. So the team leader is going to be the same as a supervisor. When they sign in, we've already set the home page as their dashboard. There are 4 dashboards that come with the release now out of the box. There's the supervisor or team leader, the project manager, the employee, and the administrator. The only difference between the dashboards is the amount of data that is shown to you, and that's completely based on your rights and privileges and the role that you have set up for you. If you're an employee, the only thing you're going to see on the employee dashboard is this first row at the top here. It's going to tell you information about the instance that you're signed into. It's going to give you information on time that you entered yesterday, today, last week, or this week. Clicking on any one of these tiles is going to take you to the time landscape screen, and at that point, you can enter time. Clicking back on the home icon will take you back to your dashboard. That employees are going to see My Pending Expenses, which are any receipts that you've been keeping track of and storing. You have not yet attached them to an expense report and submitted them. Clicking on that tile is going to take you to the Pending Expenses screen. The My Expense Reports represents expense reports that you've already set up, and you've either submitted them or you have them set in a pending state yet. In other words, they're not yet approved. Clicking on that tile will take you directly to the expense report screen. So you can see how easy it is for an employee to work and do all of their tasks each day by starting with the dashboard. Now for project managers, supervisors, and team leaders and administrators, you're going to get these additional data widgets for time, expense, approval activity time, and approval activity expenses. Let's go through them one at a time. The time widget is going to show you by employee what is out there. It's going to you can use this to show what's pending, submitted, or approved so that you can drive the workflow. If it's pending, then the employee needs to submit it yet. And all of these are pending. If you want to see different data in there, you can use the filters. And you'll notice that the filters already are set to include pending, submitted, and approved. So this tells you that there's nothing for you to do at this time. The employee needs to submit their time first. Let's take a look at the expenses widget. Again, this is set up, and you can see that that an employee, this happens to be yourself, that you started to enter an expense report, but it's still pending. Again, you can click on the 3-bar menu and you can see that that's the only thing that is presenting right now. So let's click on Include Submitted. By including that, we can tell that there's nothing submitted. So there's, again, nothing that you need to take action on. Now, if you want to control the data that's in here, let's talk a little bit more about these filters. It's very flexible. You can include pending, submitted, or approved time. You can uninclude it just by clicking on the filter. If the check mark is there, then it's active. If the check mark is not appearing, then you know that that particular criteria is not being met. The same is true for date filters. If you click on the date filters, you get to pick all of the time. And in this case, time is not referring to timesheets. It's referring to dates. So it's all dates for all data in your database. You can restrict it to today, this week, this month, this quarter, this year, or the past 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. By doing so, allows you to zero in on specific information. Now, the date filters are the same for each one of these data widgets, and you can see that by looking at each one of them. The filters for the criteria of the information are different per widget. In this case, the expense report You can choose to include expense reports that are pending, expense reports that are submitted, expense reports that are approved. Or you can also include pending expenses. Remember, these pending expenses are receipts that have been collected but not yet submitted on an expense report itself. That tells you whether you need to take some action, do something, or if the employee needs to do something. The other two data widgets are approval activity time and expenses. Think of these two as an audit trail. They represent data that is past, present, and future. Also think of it as the workflow items from an audit perspective. So when you see the employee information and it's showing awaiting approval, that means that there's an action that needs to be taken. And it needs to be taken by the level number 1. That means the first level approver. And it tells you who that approver is. It's the project manager. It would even give you the project manager's name. The same thing is true if we look at approval activity for expenses. Now we can see what's already approved, and we can tell that it went through the approval from the project manager, who was the first level approver, and the team leader, who was the second level approver. We can also see that only data showing here is approved. So let's change the filter to see if there's anything that's been rejected or recalled. So now you can see from this, by adding the filters, that there's also been some rejections and some recalled expense reports throughout the process of entering data. And from this, we can tell that the level 1 person rejected it. That was the project manager, and they rejected the time for the beyond employee. In this case, they made a note for their reason. We can also see that the employee, in this case the project manager, and the approver, that they recalled time. So this helps you understand, was the time, who entered the time, is it pending and you need to take care of something, or when was it approved, is it still awaiting approval? And it helps you to drive your workflow in a more productive manner. Now, as I said at the beginning, there are 4 predefined dashboards. Let's take a look at them. There's the administrator dashboard, the employee dashboard, the project manager dashboard, and the supervisor dashboard. They all look very similar to what I just showed you. The only difference is the amount of data that is showing in it. For the employee, they're only going to see that first row of tiles and be able to get to the time and expense entry screens for pending and submission, to create a timesheet or create an expense report and then to submit them. For the other 3 roles, the administrator, project manager, and supervisor, they're going to see all of the tiles as well as the data widgets, and the amount of information that displays within those widgets is going to depend on their permissions. Now, once you identify what role your employee is going to have, you would select the dashboard. In this case, let's assume that I'm signed in as an employee, and we want to give them the employee dashboard. Currently, they have the supervisor dashboard. We're going to give them the employee dashboard. We're going to click on employee dashboard, click open, and then you'll see this is the employee dashboard. It only contains the tile widgets. We're going to click on the 3-bar menu at the top and say set as the home page. By choosing that, if we now click on the home page icon, it's going to take us back to the employee dashboard. If the employee is working in something, so they've started to enter time and they want to get back to their home page, all they have to do is click on that home icon and they're back to the beginning. It makes it very easy for the role that you hold to drive you to the right screens and to allow you to have the information to be more productive. That's how easy it is to use the predefined dashboards in Beyond Software.